Hello, welcome back to another episode of the All Ball, No Foul podcast. And Nick, it's been a while.
It has been a little bit.
I know that we had our last episode with Trevor, which was a great talk. If you guys haven't checked that
Happy
out.
birthday to Trevor, by the way. Today's his birthday, so give the 2 Pointers podcast and Trevor a happy birthday. Hope he's having a great day today.
Happy birthday, Trevor. Hope you're having a good one, and we hope to talk to you again soon. And if you guys haven't checked out that episode too, link will be down below. And Nick, let's get into our topics for today. I think we have a lot of great things that we want to talk about for the episode this week. So the playoffs are here. So what we got?
Yeah, so our first topic we're going to be discussing today is our playoff predictions, but mostly in the Western Conference because it looks like in the East it's pretty much set for the most part unless something drastic happens. With the 10 spot like the Bulls, for example, if they go on a drastic losing streak somehow. But I don't really see that happening with them. So I think the East is pretty set. But in the Western Conference, I mean, Seeds 4 through 11 are only 3.5 games away apart from each other. 7 to 8 games left in the regular season, so that's a topic we want to talk about. The second topic we want to talk about is, we're going to do what we normally do, talk about 3 teams, but this time we're going to talk about 3 teams that have surprised us, rather in a good way or a bad way. And the last topic we're going to be talking about is the Milwaukee Bucks. They are the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, and they have the best record in the NBA. So I think it'll be a good discussion to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks.
No, I think it's going to be a great talk. I think the Bucks definitely have been that team that has been the most consistent this year. I know that Boston, for a long period of time, seemed to be that team, but I think Milwaukee definitely has shown throughout everything that they have the hunger to want to win it again this year. And Giannis has been a top 3 MVP candidate every year, it seems like. So he just had, Nick, 2 weekends ago. I went to the game and he had a perfect triple-double and nobody talked about it. So the guy is...
It's ridiculous.
The guy is... He's special. He's special. That's all I got to say. So with the Wild West, I feel like that's what we've been calling it. So to get to the first topic, the Wild West is something that we've called the Western Conference this whole year. I think one of the biggest things that we've seen throughout it is that there's been so much change, especially in the last 2 to 3 months. I would say that the only team that's been constantly on top has been Denver, but you've seen Sacramento, Memphis, the Clippers, the Suns, all kind of fluctuate up and down. The Suns have also been pretty consistent, but even the Grizzlies, man, at one point, they were dropping down, and it looked like they were going to go on a really bad tailspin, especially with all the John Morant stuff. But, Nick, what do you think right now with 7, 8 games left right now? So
so my predictions. So I think that the first 3 are pretty much set. I think it's going to go Denver Nuggets, the Memphis Grizzlies, and
100%.
Your surprise team all year long, the Sacramento Kings, are going to be the 3 seed.
They're
going to have a home playoff, series. Kudos to them. But the 4th spot right now, I'm going to go with the Phoenix Suns. Kevin Durant's coming back, and I think they're not going to mess around. They want at least to have one round where they can have home court advantage. So I think they're going to keep that 4th spot. The 5th spot, it was kind of tricky. I ended up going with the Clippers. I know Kawhi's like up and down. He's playing one game, he's not playing one game, and now Paul George got hurt. But they have put together some wins. Like they're 7-3 in their last 10 games. And, the talent that they acquired at the trade deadline is really starting to pan out now. Bones Highland's starting to play a lot better. Mason Plumlee's starting to figure out his role with this team. I really like this team. And with Paul George and Kawhi coming back, can you imagine the first round series with the Suns and the Clippers?
That's going to be tough, man.
With all teams healthy? Kawhi and KD on each? Oof,
wow. I mean, we didn't get to see that in 2021 when they played each other in the Western Conference Finals. Obviously, Kawhi was already out with the slight ACL tear.
Yeah.
We know that this has been a matchup that we wanted to see a rematch of. I think, too, this could be a very big series for a guy like Russell Westbrook.
Absolutely.
I think for him to kind of shake off that rust, it's been a couple seasons since he's made the playoffs, and I think that he wants to show that, hey, I can still be a contributing factor on a playoff team. So I think it'll be big for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Clippers, they have the 6th strength of schedule. That's kind of tough. They do play Memphis twice still, and they actually play the Phoenix Suns once. So we'll get to see. Hopefully KD is healthy. Hopefully Kawhi plays. I know Paul George probably won't be available, but we'll see what that happens with that. The 6th spot, This might be a little surprise pick for me, but I actually went with the Golden State Warriors. They have the 18th strength of schedule. They play San Antonio, Portland, Oklahoma, and the Pelicans. Those are all winnable games. They still have 3 games at home. They're 30-8 at home this year. It's unbelievable.
It's been insane.
So I like them getting that 6th spot because I think they're going to win all their home games. And if they can win 1 game on the road, I think they could somehow keep it there. Mm-hmm. My 7th seed, I got the Los Angeles Lakers. I think they're just going to miss it. They have the 27th strength of schedule. They got Houston, the Bulls, and the Jazz twice, and the Jazz are now they know they're probably not going to
probably
some games, so that really helps out. The Lakers, they're 6-4 in their last 10 games. They have, like I said, favorable schedule down the stretch. LeBron is back. But the thing is, everyone's like, oh yeah, LeBron's back. They're start going on a roll now. People forgetting LeBron and AD together on the floor, they're only 14 and 15 this year. Now, they haven't had Malik Beasley, D'Angelo Russell, Jaren Vanderbilt, Rui Hachimura. All these guys have been playing really well, and surprisingly, in a short span, I'm shocked how the chemistry has picked up so quickly for this team. I would have never thought it personally. I thought they were always going to not make it, but now it looks like they are going to make it. The 8th seed I got the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Okay.
They're the 21st strength of schedule. They play Portland, the Spurs, and the Nets. All these 3 teams are trying to lose games. So to have them on their schedule at the last part of the season, especially in the Wild West, that's always good to have. They're currently on a 4-game winning streak right now, and the momentum and the way that they're playing right now, Karl-Anthony Towns is back. I know he didn't play last game, but he played 2 games prior to that, probably giving him a little rest. They're trying to make sure that he's 100% healthy come playoff time. Anthony Edwards just came back yesterday. They just got to beat the Sacramento Kings last night. So I like the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're playing good right now. So I got them 8. 9, I got the New Orleans Pelicans. But I'm kind of worried about that because they have the first strength of schedule. You want me to name the teams that they still have on their schedule?
Let's hear it.
They got the Nuggets. They got the Grizzlies. They got the Kings, Knicks, Clippers, and Warriors. That is insane. There is not one easy game. That's who they have the rest of the year.
And they have no Zion.
But the thing is, they're on a 5-game winning streak right now. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games. Mm-hmm. So I'm very excited to see how New Orleans. Hopefully, is Zion even going to come back at this point? What is?
I feel like
I'm wearing his jersey, but
No, by the way, shout out to your jersey. That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
I think with Zion, we just haven't seen him ever healthy.
He's only played 28 games this year or something?
And they were really good. Do you remember one of the first episodes we had this year?
He was an all-star starter.
We were talking about the Pelicans, and they were the 2nd seed, I believe, at the time of when we recorded that episode. And probably we'll find that episode and also share a link for that if you want to listen to that talk. Zion's health has always been a concern, even since college at Duke. When he blew out his shoe, you remember that was when it started.
20-some seconds in the game against North Carolina. I'm a diehard Duke fan, so that pained me to see that.
And the other thing too is even when he was a rookie, you remember that the whole thing was his foot, and then that caused him to miss time. When he came back, it's just kind of been he comes back, he doesn't come, and it's this cycle that we keep seeing with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and plus, as soon as he got drafted by New Orleans, there was rumors he was thinking about even going back to college because he knew that New Orleans was going to pick him. And he didn't want to go to New Orleans, remember? That was a whole thing going on.
That was a big talk.
And stuff. So you could tell in his face when they saw at the lottery, New Orleans got number 1. He didn't look too happy.
No, and the thing with Nolo that year too was they had the 1 and 4 pick because they had traded away AD. Mm-hmm. So they had the pick of the litter with whatever they wanted with the NBA draft, man. Yep. And it pains me to say that, it's going to be another guy where he had a lot of opportunity and potential, but to see him be derailed by injury is really sad because Zion is a really talented guy. I don't want to say that he's not because I don't think that's the case. But Zion, rest up, man. I really do hope that you're able to return. If the Pelicans somehow make the play-in and Zion's able to play, we'll finally get to see some playoff Zion possibly. So
yeah, I hope so too.
Let's
Absolutely.
hope.
So the 10th spot, the last spot, I got the Dallas Mavericks. And they have the 17th strength of schedule. They just got done beating Indiana. I know it's just Indiana, but hopefully that's a confidence booster. They still play San Antonio. They still play Chicago. They still play Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And just me personally, I understand they're 3-7 in their last 10 games, and they just won last night, and they were currently on a 4-game losing streak up to that point. I just cannot see Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving not at least together make the play in the West. It blows my mind. Like, they're 11th right now.
I know, and it's crazy, too, because, and I pulled this up, too, they were 29 and 26. They were the 5th seed when they traded for Kyrie Irving. Mm-hmm. They were kind of teetering around the 4 and 5 for most of the season. And then to trade for Kyrie and bring in a guy that's giving you, like, 26 a game and to be 11th now is just crazy.
It's crazy. So, but I do have one more team.
Okay, let's hear it.
The 11th spot, I have Oklahoma City, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually made it. Because think about this: out of all those teams I just mentioned in the West, they have the easiest remaining schedule. They have the 28th strength of schedule. They play Detroit, they play the Hornets, they play the Pacers, and they play the Jazz. They have a great schedule ahead of them right now, and they're 6-4 in the last 10 games. And they still have 4 home games, and they're 22-15 at home this year. It's not the greatest home record in the world, but they have been playing well at home. And they're playing with a ton of confidence right now. And, like I said before, I would not be surprised. They got a lot of young talent on this team. The future is very bright. No one saw this coming, especially with Chet Holmgren being out for the entire year. And all their young guys have really stepped up this year. SGA's been absolutely a monster this year. He's been playing out of his mind. Should have been an all-star starter. I don't want to keep bringing that up, but should have been. But, yeah, so those are the 11 teams that I have. I wouldn't be surprised if Oklahoma somehow snuck into playing this year.
Hey, I know that's been your team that you've talked about a lot this year with OKC. And I'll kind of go into them a little bit more in this once I run down the teams that I have.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to just mention that real quickly because I think again, our podcast, we're here to talk about teams that don't get talked about. So teams like the Kings and OKC, those have been our teams all year. We've been talking about
Indiana with Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah, Indiana with Tyrese Halliburton. We talked about Denver being that consistent team. We called Boston was going to be a top team in the East again this year.
Talk about Toronto.
Yeah, Toronto.
A lot of teams that nobody in the media today really talks about. So.
And how much have we talked about LeBron?
I mean, not a whole lot, but it's not like these other shows, especially ESPN, that he's somehow the big headline every single day, over and over and over again. So,
Well, Nick, if I ever injure my foot, I want to go find the LeBron feet over here because apparently he found some guy that can repair anything. So if you know a guy like that, if I ever hurt my foot on the court, I want to know who that guy is.
Yeah, I want to know who that guy is too, man.
Oh my God. Nick, I think you make a lot of great points, and I agree with almost all of where you put a lot of teams. I'm not going to disagree with you with your first top 3. I think Denver for sure is going to be the one. They had way too big of a lead already. Mm-hmm. Memphis falling off and kind of teetering at a point where you just didn't know because of what was going on with John Morant.
We don't know when he was going to come back and anything like that,
Certainly that.
So dealing with a lot of mental health issues and stuff like that. That's obviously very severe and serious. Ben Simmons literally just sat out for an entire season. You know what I mean with that? So it's really serious.
No, and that's another thing too. We support people that are suffering through mental health, and I know that we clown Ben Simmons a lot, but I know that mental health is a statement that we don't want to take lightly, especially on this podcast. People do go through things every day. I know that there's been multiple NBA players that have talked about it. Kevin Love was one of the first ones that opened up about mental health.
Absolutely.
We all have friends and family members that deal with that every day. So to any of you guys out there, if you ever need a person to talk to, me and Nick will always have the door open for you guys. So
absolutely.
Before I get back to it, just want to make that real quick and clear because it's a tough world out there, man.
Absolutely.
It's terrible to see what happens every day. So, getting back to basketball, definitely. And just shout out Ja coming back right before the playoffs to just seeing this team hopefully do something more than just be a second round exit this year, possibly. We'll see. Third, definitely the Kings. Light the beam. Please light the beam. Every day say it. As Trevor said, he has not seen them since he was a kid. We were, 2004? It was 2004, I think?
Something like
so
that.
So if it was 2004, 2005, I'll say it like this. I'm 26. Nick?
25.
I mean, when you think about that, we were 7, 8, 7, like 6, 7.
Crazy-ish.
So, like, that's kind of wild. Not gonna lie, like, that's wild. I'm gonna flip-flop. So when I was looking up all the research yesterday, I was actually going to say that the Clippers were going to be in the play-in, but after what I saw they did to the Bulls and Batum and his shooting, I think they have enough shooting. Eric Gordon and Batum were hitting it from 3. They have too much shooting. I'm going to put them at 4. I think if Kawhi can stay relatively healthy and continue to play at the level he's been playing at for the last 3 weeks, I can see them going there. I know that KD, the report is he's going to come back tomorrow. We'll see what happens. I think Phoenix is kind of one of those teams where they could either be really hot or they can be really cold, and they really have to depend off their top 3 stars, Nick.
Absolutely. No, I don't disagree with that at all. You know, and the thing about the Clippers, too, is, like, if Kawhi or Paul George are out, or even if they're both out, they are a team where when their star player is not available, they have so much depth on this roster that they could easily still win a ball game with the talent that they have on this team. Especially, like, people, you know, honestly, I think the Clippers, me personally, had the best trade deadline. I mean, I know, like, Phoenix got Kevin Durant and stuff, but, like, they cut off so much of their team. And if KD goes out, or Devin Booker goes out, or even Chris Paul goes out, like, they don't have that much depth. And that's the scary thing about it. And, like, there's going to be games where one of them's going to be in foul trouble. Who's going to come off the bench and contribute? The Clippers, they have so much talent on this team from top to bottom. They probably have the second best roster in the West, if you want me to be honest with you.
They honestly could argue themselves, if they had a better center, they could argue themselves for possibly having the best roster in the West. I think because they don't have a guy like Jokic, it's very hard to argue that right now. But when you have the wings that you have, that team is just wing deep. I don't know how else to call it. Marcus Morris isn't even playing minutes anymore, and I think that he is a solid player, and he's a solid rotation player. The fact that he's not even playing, and last year and the year before that, he was a huge contributional piece. So
especially for Boston.
Those
years. Huge.
Like, I can remember in the playoffs, you know, when Paul George wasn't showing up, Marcus Morris was showing up. So let's just remember that. To get back to it, so I put the Suns at 5. Here's my team.
Here we go.
And this is what I was going to say, is that the one team I can see that can actually, that's currently been in the play-in for the last couple of weeks that I think can make it out of the play-in is the Minnesota Timberwolves. Why? Is because they have the third easiest schedule back in the West. Very favorable. Cat has come back. Ant has returned from that minor ankle injury that he had. Like you said, they play teams like the Spurs and Blazers. So let's just say this for a second. I believe they played the Spurs twice and the Blazers once. Those are 3 wins right there. Right now they are at 39 and 37.
And take teams lightly. Those are 3 wins.
So let's just say they get to 42 and 37. I don't foresee a lot of those teams behind them being consistent. The problem with all of those teams is
not the Warriors.
Like the Warriors I actually have at 7. And the Warriors I put at 7 because I think they're that team that could likely find their way out of the top 6 and into the play-in because of their struggles at home. I mean, when you throw away a ball, Draymond Green made a really bad pass. I know some people on Twitter are like calling it intentional. It's not intentional. He just made a really stupid pass. And there's nothing else you can say about it. And that's the thing. Like, give respect to what Minnesota's had to deal with. Naz Reid has been one of their biggest pivotal players with Cat being out. Rudy Gobert has missed some time. They traded away D'Lo. So that was one of their top scorers. Brought him back in Mike Conley, who's been decent. Like, he hasn't been bad.
Actually, I think he's averaging about 14 and 5, if I'm not mistaken, since he's joined Minnesota.
And he's shooting about 42%.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's actually been a good veteran contributor that this team, I think, really needed.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
And here's another thing, too, Nick. They have pivotal games against the Lakers and the Pelicans, who are both also fighting for the play-in. So, like you talked about the Pelicans, that strength of schedule. Both of those, like, I'm not going to say those are going to be easy games either, and we'll see what happens with those. But those are 2 games again that are going to be important for them to stay out of the play-in. Now, another guy I just want to call out real quick before I keep moving forward is Jaden McDaniels. He's their best perimeter defender. Also, I looked at it in his
potential.
You know, his in his last 10, man, he's been averaging 16 and he's been shooting 43% from 3.
That's what I'm saying. He's got a lot of potential. And if he really works on his game this offseason, I think you're going to see a huge step in his game the following season, no doubt.
And like I look at it too, a guy like Jared Vanderbilt that they traded away too for Rudy Gobert. I still am not going to stop that Rudy Gobert trade, but that trade is still just Walker Kessler.
Oh yeah, you meant Walker Kessler. Yeah.
Walker Kessler. Yeah. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna say anything more than that. You know, why would you trade? I'm gonna leave it there.
Yeah.
I'll put the Lakers at 8. I think that their schedule is favorable for them. Second easiest in the West. The return of LeBron. I know that last game, and I want to say this too. I'm not going to use the excuse of LeBron rust. The Lakers looked terrible when they played the Bulls. The Bulls played great, but this is the problem with the Bulls. They're not consistent. They lost yesterday to the Clippers. They're just not. It's not sustainable play from them.
It's not.
DeMar hitting multiple threes like that. I as much as I love DeMar, he's not a 3-point shooter. Derrick Jones is not going to hit that many threes in a game, unfortunately. It was a really good shooting.
And the one play at the end of the game when Patrick Beverley throws that shuffle pass to Levine for the dunk on the baseline. How was he that wide open down low?
Yeah, like that makes them. I know that they were doing full court press, and sometimes you're gonna have a guy that's gonna like find his way because you're not paying attention to the guy that's running down the court.
Yeah.
And like for the Lakers, a team that's been number 1 in defensive rating since the deadline.
That's why I was just about to say that too. So.
Yeah. And if you look at it too, Nick, with their schedule left, their toughest game could be the Suns, which if KD comes back, that would be their toughest game, and they just beat Phoenix. I know they beat them without KD, but that's a winnable game for them if they're playing at the level we've seen them play at, 13-7 since the trade deadline. So just want to call that out too. They've been good. I'm going to put OKC at 9.
Oh wow. Okay. You got more faith in OKC than me. And I'm the OKC guy.
The only reason that when I was looking at this yesterday, I was looking at their schedule. They have the easiest schedule left of all the teams fighting for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like I look at the Western teams, and I look at so I'm gonna cancel out Portland. Portland's done. They shut down Dame. Like, the only other teams right now is Utah, New Orleans, and then Dallas. Those are the only 3 other teams I haven't mentioned.
Dallas is going to be huge.
Like, New Orleans has the hardest schedule. 5, so their winning percentage, again, like, if you average all of the winning percentages for the rest of the teams they play against, is over 500.
Yep.
Same with Utah at 520. And then Dallas is a little bit below 500 at 496, and then you got OKC all the way down at 447.
Yeah,
and the reason why is because they're going to play teams like the Hornets, the Pistons, the Pacers, the Jazz. You know, even the Jazz.
All these teams are just trying to lose now. They're trying to get ping pong balls. Hopefully, they can get Victor.
Hey, everybody's tanking for Wemby, right?
Yeah.
So at this point, you know which teams are done. And I just think that the toughest games for them are going to be the Grizzlies or the Suns. And again, I'm putting the Suns if KD is back. No disrespect to Devin Booker and Chris Paul. That team is a lot better with KD than without. And I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that.
Yeah, 100%.
Also, I'm going to just say this. Shout out to Nick for talking about SGA this year a lot. He's been on a tear. And even his last 10, almost 32 points a game, 6 assists, almost 5 rebounds a game. His supporting cast is a bunch of guys that, I'm going to be honest, 95% of NBA fans don't even know.
And they don't even pay attention to Oklahoma City Thunder.
Nope.
You know?
Nope. Jalen Williams, Isaiah Joe, Josh Giddey, Lou Dort, James Robinson Earl, and then the other Jalen with YL.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, we'll talk about that more in our next topic. But
sure.
But OKC, like, that's a team. And then I'll put Dallas at 10. I think that even though they're the 11th seed, the majority of their remaining games can be winnable. Spurs, they beat the Pacers yesterday, like you said.
Yeah.
The Hawks could be a game I think they can win.
Yeah.
If the Sixers don't have Embiid and Harden, I think that's also a winnable game for them. Nick, I know we've talked a lot about Dallas the last couple of episodes, and I just need to say this. Please play JaVale McGee. I don't know why you're playing Dwight Powell when you have a guy that you signed in the offseason to be a rim defender.
Literally the reason.
Like, there's no other reason you added him.
Yeah.
You did not add him to be a post scorer because we all know if that was the case, Shaq's about to be going, JaVale McGee!
The Shaq and the Fool.
Yes.
I'll never forget some of those JaVale McGee highlights, man.
Like we all know that JaVale McGee is one of the goofiest dudes in the league. And I'm just going to say that we're not watching him about to be pulling a Jokic or Embiid on the offensive end. But on the defensive end, that man can hold his own.
Yeah,
when he won the bubble chip with the Lakers, he was a key player and he was a rim defender. So
absolutely.
Those 2 games against the Hornets, I don't have to really explain much more than that. Those 2 winnable games. Pelicans' strength of schedule is pretty horrendous.
Yeah.
So, and they have no Zion. So I think Dallas will surpass. I feel like New Orleans is going to drop some of their games, and that's why I have New Orleans at 11, and then and then the Jazz would be at 12. Okay. So that's how I'll put it.
So we pretty much have the same team except for the seeding is a little different. Yeah. But I don't have Oklahoma, and you don't have New Orleans.
Okay. Yeah. I think and I think
I completely understand why the New Orleans like I said like we just mentioned like they have the first strength of schedule like that's horrible and all these games like they're all playoff teams that could potentially win a round of who they have left on their schedule. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So
no, I know exactly what you're saying, and that's the thing about like a lot of these teams is that we could go back and forth, man. Like we could talk about why this team, such as a team, OKC, they have their arguments. New Orleans also has their arguments. You can't disrespect the fact of like BI, CJ, Jose Alvarado is supposed to be coming back. If Zion comes back, sure. They have pieces. Trey Murphy he's no scrub. Herb Jones is not a scrub either.
Yeah.
They have good rotational players. The thing is that some of the teams they have to face, hey, they're still trying to win too. They're not just gonna start booking the games just because Philly's doing it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that the rest of the league's doing it.
Yeah.
But Nick, we're gonna take a real quick break before we get to our next topic, man. But I think this is a great segment. I think that we talked a lot about the West, and we'll see what happens from these last 8 games because it's going to be crazy.
It's going to be nuts.
All right. We'll be right back. All right. Welcome back, guys. Back to our second topic of the day. And Nick, this topic that we're going to talk about, and like we've said a lot in this podcast since we started it last October.
Yep.
Is we want to give those teams recognition that don't get it all the time. And there's 3 teams that we're going to talk about today. I know that one of those teams we've talked about a lot, but the other 2 teams I don't think we've talked about enough. So, Nick, why don't we talk about that?
Yeah, so the first team we're going to mention is, we kind of mentioned them on the last topic, but it's the Oklahoma City Thunder. Has been a huge shocker, especially, with Chet Holmgren getting injured, playing scrimmage ball in the summer. Got hurt. Everyone goes, oh, well, this team's not going to be fun, enjoyable to watch. You just got a bunch of guys. Yeah, they just have SGA that's going to be balling, and they have Josh Giddey and stuff. But it's like everyone else, nobody really knows, and they're not going to be fun to watch. And they go, oh, the West is so tough, they have no chance.
Yeah,
they actually have a chance to make the play-in right now. And I just want to throw some numbers out there to some of their young players because they have a very bright future. This team, and with Chet Holmgren, hopefully he comes back healthy. Going into next season, but these 4 players I have on my notes that we're going to discuss, they've had some really good years. Obviously, the first one, SGA. I mean, what else can we say about this guy? He's been unbelievable. The guy's averaging 31 a game, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, almost 2 steals a game. He's shooting 51% from the field, 35% for 3, and he's shooting 90% from the free throw line. My opinion, should have been an all-star starter. That didn't happen. Just because Oklahoma doesn't get talked about enough. They're a small market team, and fans don't really know SGA like that still, even though he's one of the best players in this league.
100%.
So
100%.
Next player, Josh Giddey. Guy's averaging 16.3 points per game right now. He's averaging 6 assists, 8 rebounds for a point guard.
He's a big guy. He's not a big guy. He is not a small
And that's another
guard.
guy, like everyone was like, Sam Presti picked who?
Yeah, and he was
Look how that's turned out right now.
He was the 6th pick in the 2021 draft, just to give you an idea.
Yeah, and he's shooting 48% from the field. He's only shooting 33% from 3. Hopefully in the offseason he really works on that 3-point shot. But he's shooting 75% from the free throw line. That's respectable, especially for a guard. It's not great, but it's not terrible either. You could rely on him knocking down some clutch free throws down the stretch. Next guy I really want to talk about, he's really blossomed this last month. And he's on pace. He can put himself in the conversation for Rookie of the Year. Jalen Williams.
Yes, sir.
Averaging about 14 a game this year, 3.2 assists per game, 4.5 rebounds a game this year. He's also getting over a steal a game. He's shooting 52% from the field, 35.5% from 3 is not bad. He's not a high volume shooter though, so I could see him working on his game next year. He could get up to like 37% for being like a set shooter that he is. He's also shooting 80% from the free throw line pretty much, so he's having a sneaky good first year that, you know, the media doesn't really cover a whole lot.
And here's one thing, Nick, I just want to point out before you continue.
Yeah.
He was the 12th overall pick in last year's draft after they already had Holmgren at 2. So you know that's one of those draft picks that Presti's acquired from another team. So just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Sam Presti's a genius. We can have a whole segment about him, but we're not going to do that today. You know,
digging into the brain of Sam Presti?
Sam Presti, man. And Lou Dort, you know, like, averaging respectively 13.7 points per game, you know, only 2 assists a game, but 4.4 rebounds. He's also averaging a steal a game, you know, but his field goal percentage is only 39%, and his three-point percentage is 34%, but he shoots almost 80% from the free throw line. So hopefully, you know, going into next year, he gets his mid-range more going, you know, learns how to finish more, better at the rim, and knock down more threes at a better clip. But those 4 guys, if they keep increasing the level of play each year, and with Chet Holmgren coming, man, this team's going to be fun to watch easily the next 5 to 7 years, no doubt.
Oh, yeah. They're going to be a great team to watch, Nick. I think that's going to be a team that people have to start respecting more. I know that OKC has not been the powerhouse that it once was when they had KD, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Serge Ibaka,
Reggie Jackson.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not Kendrick Perkins, though. Sorry. I'm just going to say it. I'm thinking about the one where he's doing that pass. You know which one I'm talking about.
I'm thinking about when he got dunked on by Blake Griffin. He got dunked on by Dwayne Wade at the spin.
Yes.
Oh, my God. Those were nasty dunks.
I was watching the highlight reel, and he takes the fast break, and he literally just goes like this, and he just passes it, and it's to nobody, and he just like looks like he just is like this, and KD's like,
what are you doing?
Like, what are you doing? Like, sorry, I just had to add that real quick because I'm just thinking about those teams, but they had really good teams, and it's sad to see that not more came out of it. I know that James Harden went to Houston because of money and wanted a bigger role as well. Thought he deserved to be a starter. Look what happened.
Look what happened after I said you went to Houston.
And another thing too. So I know that, like you already talked about with OKC, you know, beginning of the year, the West is so tough. There's all these good teams.
Yeah,
OKC's going to be a bottom feeder. They're going to probably tank for Wemby. Can you imagine Wemby and Chet Holmgren together next year? Because unfortunately, now with Chet Holmgren, was it the preseason or was it just
I don't know if it was the Drew League, but he was playing in like some summer, like just scrimmaging during the summer.
I remember it was, I think it was against
LeBron.
It was a Liz Frank fracture.
I think it was the Drew League.
Yes, it must have been, because I remember that the whole joke was that he needs to put on some weight because LeBron literally just big manned him, and he's a tall guy. Unfortunately, foot injuries are going to happen with taller guys, and we don't know.
After Kristaps Porzingis over the years, he's actually been relatively healthy this year,
and he's been pretty good. Like there's guys. Chet Holmgren has the opportunity to be a really good player. We'll see what happens when he comes back next year. But we need to give Sam Presti his credit. Like you said, we could talk about this. This could be a whole episode called The Science of Sam Presti, and then we'll go like Brian Windhorst, like that. But
and look at I don't know if you have this information, like when they have Luke Dort, Jalen Williams, these guys, like when were those guys drafted?
So I can tell you this right now, Nick. Luke Dort was an undrafted player in 2019. He played actually for the G League affiliate and then was called up to play for the Thunder the year they had Chris Paul. And if you remember, Lou Dort was a big component in that playoff series in the bubble too. Mm-hmm. And I know he's not a great shooter, and he's occasionally gets streaky from three. You know, not a predominantly great 3-point shooter. But you look at guys like Jalen Williams, for example. I'm not talking about the Jalen Williams that's going for the Rookie of the Year, possibly. I'm talking about Jalen Williams, the starting forward that was a second-round pick in the 2022 draft. Mm-hmm. And again, he's another guy where you don't even realize who these guys are. Isaiah Joe, for example, he was a second-round pick in 2020, 49th overall. So around that like Jokic area where, you know, a late second-round pick. He was drafted originally by the Sixers. He was picked up by OKC actually back right before the season started. October 16th is when they signed him. And look at what he's done this year. Shot 42% from three. You look at a guy like Jeremiah Robinson Earl. He's been a guy that he's a rotational player that plays a solid chunk of minutes. His last 10 games, he's shooting 43% from three. And again, a second-round pick in 2021, pick 32. Same draft as Josh Giddey, like we talked about. You know, he was a lottery pick, but the thing about him was he wasn't one of those talked-about lottery picks like other guys are.
Yeah.
That's something that people need to remember is that the flashy players are not always the players that end up having the greatest careers. Mm-hmm. It's the guys that are putting the effort into the gym, the guys that are actually going onto the court and improving themselves. And these guys have all shown that underdog mentality of, hey, we've been counted out multiple times, and look at us, we're 37-38. Nobody saw
this coming.
They thought they were going to be at the Houston Rockets level. A really bad team that has some good players, and that's about it. Yeah. Also, real quick, I just want to also mention, they also have another... You know they have 3 guys in the top 12 on their team from last year's draft, and it was Ousmane Dieng that they acquired from the Knicks, possible future asset.
Yep.
Nick, I got to ask you real quick, your question on this. Can Giddey, SGA, and if Holmgren stays healthy, can they be a possible big 3 of the future?
I don't see why not. I mean, look at what Giddey's doing this year. Look at SGA. I mean, he's a top 10 player in the league. I mean, the stats that he's putting up, you know, the way he's willed this team as the leader, and he's super young too, being able to lead this team where everybody in the media is like, oh yeah, this team's going to tank after 20 games. Look at them right now.
Yeah.
You know, and Chet Holmgren, I think we have to wait to the following year. Mm-hmm. We got to see how this first year plays out, but give him like a year or two to develop and stuff, but I don't see why not.
I mean, it's very possible.
Yeah.
The way that the West is looking right now, there's no team that scares me in the next 5 years besides maybe, I don't know, like if Sacramento can stay like consistent, maybe they can be like that old Sacramento Kings teams that were consistent. I would say Denver would be a team that's going to probably still be around. Mm-hmm. A lot of their players aren't that old, you know.
Houston's got a lot of young pieces. I know they're terrible, but they actually do got a lot of young pieces.
Houston definitely, I think, will start working their way back up into relevancy. Mm-hmm. James Harden has been a person that possibly could go back to Houston. We don't know what other players could
decide. He works out there in the offseason and stuff like that.
Maybe he attracts another guy to come. Jalen Green's a good player. Jabari Smith has started to really play well. And then they also have
Kevin Porter.
Yeah, Kevin Porter, and then Alperen Sengun. He's also been really good for them. They have multiple guys on that team that can hoop. But
yeah, absolutely.
All right, Nick. Yep. So we talked a lot about OKC. Who is that second team that we want to give the...
Yeah, we've been very surprised.
Embarrassed.
And even like the media too, like they didn't really talk about this team a whole lot, and we're actually gonna move in the Eastern Conference with this team.
All right,
it's the New York Knicks. It's the New York Knicks. Like going into this season, everyone was like, "Why did they give all that money to Jalen Brunson? What are they thinking?" Blah 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 blah. They called this like the most mediocre big 3 to be put together with Jalen Brunson, R.J. Barrett, and Julius Randle. But I mean, and everyone thought they weren't even gonna be in the top 6. Me personally, I did not. I thought this team would be nothing but a play-in team. Maybe they get advanced, it get bounced down in the first round, but you know this team has been really, really good. And Jalen Brunson, R.J. Barrett, Julius Randle are all averaging 20-plus points. I know R.J. Barrett's in 19.7, but
we'll give him that 20.
We'll give him the little bump. So they pretty much have 3 guys dropping 20 a night. They have 6 guys that are averaging double figures a night right now, and They're 13th overall in scoring. They score about 115 points per game. They're second in the NBA in rebounding per game right now. They rebound the ball about 47 times a game. And some of the things that concern me for this team in the playoffs, the game slows down a lot. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of games that are going to be scoring 115 plus points. Mm-hmm. And they're 29th in the NBA in assists. So they only get 23 assists per game right now. And 35% from three as a team. It's not terrible, but it's not good either. And when the game slows down and you're not getting those fast break points, you got to be able to knock down perimeter shots in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And those are my concerns with the Knicks. Sometimes the ball just sticks too much. They play isolation ball at the end of the game situation. You can't do that in the postseason, especially, your potential matchup could be Cleveland or Philly in the first round.
Those are going to be
tough matchups for the Knicks.
100%. And though both those teams can guard Julius Randle, that's the other thing too. Mm-hmm. And like you mentioned, having three guys averaging 20 or more that's always impressive to see on a team. One guy that I don't think
I love Quickly's game.
I was going to mention quickly, but I was also going to say too is that Josh Hart was actually a pretty big
I agree.
trade, and I think it doesn't get mentioned enough. But Josh Hart has been that guy for them. He's been that glue guy that they needed. Mm-hmm. So I think he's definitely been a great addition. And also, as you said, Emmanuel Quickly just had 40 points yesterday. I know it was Houston. But
if you could drop 40 any night in the NBA, I mean,
it's still that's not
it's still
easy.
Impressive.
It is impressive, and the thing is that Quickly has had arguments. I know I've been listening to other podcasts talking about Quickly could have been possibly for Sixth Man of the Year. He's up there. He's been one of those guys that has shown Tibbs that he deserves the minutes, because once they started cutting down Evan Fournier's minutes back in November and basically has really just been reduced to a bench warmer or maybe low minutes.
Yeah.
Quickly has stepped up and he's been really good.
Grimes, Toppin. I mean, they really got some young guys. I know Toppin really hasn't reached that peak yet that we thought he would by now, but they just have a lot of talent on this roster. I think that's one guy. If he was on another team right now and he was a third or fourth option, I think you could really see his game.
We've seen it with even Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish goes to the Blazers and then he starts playing well, and it's just you sometimes just need to be in an opportunity where you're going to get the ball. And I think one of the things that for us as Bulls fans we've noticed with Tibbs is that he plays the guys that he likes, and that's just going to be a reality.
Defensive guys. Look what he did with Kemba Walker. He didn't care that it was Kemba Walker. He benched Kemba Walker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he does not care what you've done in the past.
Nope.
He literally goes by, if you can play defense for me, you're gonna be all right.
Yeah. And he'll play you a lot of minutes, as we've seen. I mean, there's guys look at Julius Randle is averaging about 36 minutes for this team, and I know that's not 40 minutes a game or anything, but he's played all 75 games. That doesn't get talked about enough. That he's played all the games. I think another thing with the Knicks that we don't talk about.
Jalen Brunson should have been an All-Star.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you on that. I get that, it's hard to give a team 2 All-Stars, especially with the way the format is, the way the voting works, and the problem is that unless you're the 1 seed, you're probably not going to get 2 guys. So it's tough. But Brunson definitely, that contract now, Nick, the 4 years, $104 million contract, looks like a steal now because of how well he's been playing.
Or even when they got Julius Randle too, I mentioned this on the last podcast episode, no one believed in Julius Randle. It's this year, Jalen Brunson was getting interest, but as soon as everyone saw what New York was offering, they go, "Oh, I'm not touching him. No, I'm not doing that. 4 years on are you serious?" He's been a monster, man. He's been balling, and RJ Barrett has been balling too. He's improved his game a lot this year. This is the team moving forward. They got young pieces, and they got a formidable big three. It's not like the big three, oh my God, look out. You know what I mean? But it is a formidable, solid big three that you could build around if you put the right pieces around those three. The New York Knicks, as long as they don't mess this up, I think they're going to be able to compete at least the next 4 to 7 years without a doubt.
I think they definitely can. Their guys are young enough where they have that core that's going to be there. It could be another Bulls situation where you have a consistent team with a good coach that plays defense, plays hard. Now, one of the things you mentioned with the playoffs, the only thing I see with the Knicks I love the season they're having.
Yeah.
The thing I'm seeing is the same thing that happened in 2021.
I was just about to say that.
It's the same thing. Randall's your best player still. I know Randall's hooping 25 points a game, 10 rebounds a game, 4 assists a game, right? But the biggest problem is that, like you said, game slows down. Randall is a back-to-the-basket player. I know that he can get a spot-up jumper, but you can't win that way.
You can't win ISO way when the game slows down like that, especially when teams are able to set up. And like I said, they're only averaging about 23 assists per game as a team. That's 29th in the NBA.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is like you're going to need guys like Quentin Grimes, who's been one of their big contributional players for them to be hitting his threes. You're going to need RJ Barrett to be shooting pretty decently from three.
John Bronson's got to knock down some threes.
And he's going to have to, he can't play back to the basket where he tries to get to because I know Brunson likes to get to that like free throw area, back his guy down and do that, but in the playoffs they're going to double you and then you're going to have to take it out to somebody else and force them to shoot. So who are you going to be relying on? Who are you going to trust? And the other thing too is that depending on the matchup, they play a team like Cleveland, man. That's going to be a tough matchup.
Even Philly, like as long as Embiid and Harden comes back, like even they're going to avoid the play, which is great. I mean, I think that's why we wanted to talk about the Knicks because I think everyone pretty much was like, oh, this is going to be a playing team, 7-8 seed. We'll see if they could somehow make it out of the play, and then they'll get crushed in the first round. But it's going to be a tough matchup no matter who they get, whoever gets that fourth spot between Philly and Cleveland. So, yeah,
because right now the Knicks have essentially locked the 5th seed.
Yeah.
They have the third easiest schedule left. All they have to do is coast. They're at 43 and 33 right now. So with 6 games left, even if they went 3-3, they're going to be 46 and 36. They're going to be locked in. I don't think Miami's going to catch them. And a big accomplishment too. They were 37 and 45 last year.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things that you said too is that Tibbs doesn't care who you are. I still think that Fournier benching was probably one of the better things he did. And Fournier understands why he got benched. Look, he doesn't play defense. That's just a reality of him. He's a good scorer. And he's going to
knock down some shots.
Yeah. But the thing is that if you're not going to play in Tibbs' system the way he likes it, you're not going to get your minutes, man. And that's going to be the other thing. Now, Mitchell Robinson is going to need to be that rim defender for them in the playoffs, too.
Absolutely.
I think that was a big re-signing. I know that was somebody that they really...
Especially if they play Philly in the first one, Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
I mean,
the good thing is they have a backup center in Hartenstein, so that at least you know that you have another big. But obviously, we don't want to see Robinson get into foul trouble.
Yeah.
But yeah, a matchup with Embiid is not going to be very likely favorable for them. So I think for the Knicks, we'll see what happens, man. But shout out to New York. Great season for you guys. And wishing you all the best of luck.
Absolutely.
And I think we got one more team we wanted to talk about before we end this topic. So, Nick, why don't we talk about that team?
Yeah, so the first 2 teams we mentioned, we were surprised at how good they've actually been. Now, this is the complete opposite. We thought this team would be still pretty good, but now they're struggling to even make the play-in. That's Dallas Mavericks. I mean, even though they lost Jalen Brunson, we still saw this team before the season started as, they'll crack the top 6. Luka will find a way. They still got Dorian Finney-Smith at the time. They still got some, pieces and stuff. So everyone thought the Dallas Mavericks were going to be a top 6 team. And even they were the 5th seed when they got Kyrie Irving, like you mentioned. Yeah. They were the number 5 seed.
Yep.
And you add a player like that to pair up with Luka. Now I understand they traded away Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie. They traded away, their best perimeter defender, Dorian Finney-Smith, and which this team already lacked defensive presence to begin with.
Yeah.
Before the season even started. But I did not think it would go so left with this team. They're currently at the 11th seed. They were on a 4-game losing streak. Look at what Luka's press conference a couple games ago was like, this isn't fun for me anymore. And when your star player, as young as he is saying that, that's not good. It's just not good. It's just giving me those LeBron vibes.
Yeah.
His first go around in Cleveland. And obviously now it's looking like even if they make the plan and they're going to get bounced in the plan, Kyrie's gone. Because it has not panned out.
Yeah.
Not his fault. He's still playing at a high level, but now this team understands you can't just have 2 guys that can score at a very high level and not really have anything else.
No, it's true, and they're kind of cap locked too, so it's really hard to make moves even if they want to.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, Nick, is like even if Kyrie leaves, man, where is he going to go? Because I don't think he's going to go to the Lakers. I know that was the talk, but I think the Lakers want to keep D'Lo. If things work out and pan out well for them, like I think D'Lo's staying, and I don't know where Kyrie's going to go, man, because he's already alienated himself from the Nets, from the Cavs, from the Celtics. You know,
all good teams, all had a lot of talent.
Yeah. So I just don't know, man. Like it's tough, and then it would be the Mavs. Another team. He just kind of just like whatever, you know. That's I agree with everything you said. Mm-hmm. Look, Luka is a generational player, and Mark Cuban has gotten lucky twice. He got Dirk the first go around. Now he got Luka.
He did make one mistake though. Should have kept Nash.
Yeah, that is the one. I do agree with you, man.
Can you imagine what they could have done together? I think I think they could have won one together. I really truly believe they could have won one together.
I think if they had him in 2006, man, against that Miami Heat team, I think so. Yeah. I think definitely Steve Nash. We never saw Nash win a ring, man. It's sad to see that, and he had some great years with Phoenix, man. So
that's a great teams, man. Boris Diaw was good at that point.
Yeah.
Brian Hale.
Amari Stoudemire.
Leandro Barbosa.
The team that the running gun team.
On the ball.
Oh yeah. Stop it! I love Stacey King, man. That man is hilarious. I don't know if you saw when he was mimicking Shannon Sharp after the game.
Yeah.
Bro, like. You gotta give it to Stacey King. He is one of the funniest guys in the NBA, and honestly, like he is the heart and soul of Chicago talk for all the Bulls games, man. Him and Adam Amin make a really good team. I like them together.
We're not trying to be biased, but I've watched some other tandems in the broadcasting and stuff, and like I don't think I've heard a better combination than Stacey and
Adam. I think Adam brings a lot of like youth and more of like relativity to a lot of people that are growing up now. I think Stacey.
He does football games too in the NFL.
Yeah,
he does a lot.
He's with Fox.
Yeah,
and he makes a lot of good calls. And he started during the COVID season they had. And I've really started to like Adam Amin. And like you said, I don't like the only other guys that I can think of that call games is like Mark Davis, and he calls like some Sacramento King games, and he's hilarious too. Yeah. I love him. And then Mike Breen. Mike Breen calls them the next 5 games. I think those are like the only other guys I can think of that are really good that aren't national broadcasters that broadcast for local teams. Mm-hmm. And I know that 2 of those guys I just mentioned are national broadcasters, but it just in terms of like home games.
Yeah.
To get back to the Mavs for a second, I think the 2 things, Nick, I did want to just talk about with, everything with these disappointments. You were 52-30 last year. You made the Western Conference Finals after nobody thought you were going to make it.
Yep.
You think, hey, this year we're going to have the same team that we just acquired during the trade deadline. Mm-hmm. Let's see what happens. Luka continues to be dominant, but the problem is that he looks gassed at the end of the games because he's got to do everything like LeBron did his first go-around in Cleveland. And I think, 1, you lost Brunson to the Knicks. That was mistake number 1. Mm-hmm. Now, look, you go out, you acquire Christian Wood for a bunch of bench warmers, and I think a draft
at that point, that was a great move.
And you know what? The Rockets will take those like salaries because they're rebuilding.
Yeah.
They just had a filler guy in Christian Wood. Mm-hmm. You signed JaVale McGee as a rim defender in the offseason, but you don't play him. Mm-hmm. I don't understand that still. You have a center, but you don't play him. I get that you want to play.
When you lack size to begin with.
Exactly. I get you want to play small ball. I understand Dwight Powell is the modern day center because he's a smaller guy that can run faster. But you need a guy like JaVale McGee.
He's not really an offensive threat though, except for pick and rolls where he gets those dump off passes in. He's athletic, like he can dunk the ball and stuff like that. But
JaVale McGee can do
he can't pick a pop. Like they honestly miss Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah, that's another guy too. I would even say like that trade. I get it. You got Spencer Dinwiddie, Davis Bertans, and then did they get somebody else with that trade? I think there was like one other like small piece they got in the trade. But look, I get that Kristaps wasn't what you had hoped for, but that was again a bad trade. And look at this for a second. And if you've already mentioned this. Cut me off if I have, or if you have. But they've been 7-13. since the trade, right? And being currently out of the playoff picture, you miss Spencer Dinwiddie. You miss a guy that can also, create his own shot. I get it that Kyrie is way better at that. But Spencer Dinwiddie was also like one of your pivotal pieces that actually gelled with the team. Mm-hmm. Dorian Finney-Smith is your best perimeter defender. Dude, Reggie Bullock being your best perimeter defender is not going to help you win a championship. I'm sorry to say that, but Reggie Bullock is not some world beater that's going to stop a bunch of people. You gave up 3 future assets to get Kyrie for maybe 20-something games?
Yeah.
They're giving up 118 points, Nick.
I know.
118 points. If you're giving up, and you always talk about defense, and you talk about how in like the NBA now, nobody plays defense.
Nobody.
This team really just saying
not many teams. I don't want to say no teams,
yeah,
but a lot of most teams don't play defense.
Okay,
yeah.
It's like this is based on the Mavs defense. Go to the rim. Please score on us. We don't want to play defense. They're literally leaving people wide open for 3. Now, I will say that Josh Hardy has been playing really well for them lately. Or Jalen Hardy. Not Josh Hardy, but Jalen Hardy has been playing really well for them lately. But he's not a defensive player. He's an offensive-minded guy.
Great. That's all they have. That's offensive-minded guys. That's literally all they have.
Yeah, they were hoping
that
Tim
Hardaway Jr. He's a streaky shooter. Streaky offensively, things like that. Can't defend. Reggie Block, defend him. But you're gonna have to rely on him if you make the play-in, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say they're in the 10th spot. They gotta play Golden State. Who's guarding Stephen Curry? Who's guarding Klay Thompson? It ain't gonna be Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving.
It will definitely not be them. But hey, it'd be a great back and forth game if they can keep it close.
Yeah.
But no, I get what you're saying with that. And hey, man, I know we can go on and on about how bad the Mavs are defensively. Yeah. So I'll stop us right there on that. Thank you guys for listening still. We're going to be back for our last topic, so stay tuned and we'll be back real quick. All right, guys, back to our last segment of the day. Nick, it's been a great conversation today, man.
Absolutely.
I think we've definitely had a lot of good points to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
I think, after the Mavs kind of talking about disappointments, let's just talk about another team that's been really great this year.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the Milwaukee Bucks. They have the best record in the Eastern Conference, and they have the best overall record in the NBA. So we have to bring up the Milwaukee Bucks because this is looking like the team to beat.
I think they definitely can be, man. I think the only team that scares me against them is Boston. Even them,
absolutely.
I think they can beat them this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Bucks, they just lost they were on a 16-game winning streak. They're 53-21 and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. Look at these statistics that I'm about to throw at you right now.
All right, let's hear them.
So they're 9th in the NBA in scoring.
Okay.
Almost 117 points per game. They're currently 1st in rebounding, almost at 49 rebounds per game. They're 12th in assists, almost at 26 assists per game right now. They have the 4th most made three-pointers made in the NBA per game. They almost make 15 threes a game. They are so elite defensively. They're currently 2nd in the NBA in defensive rating at 109.9. And they're currently 2nd in the NBA defensive rebounding percentage at 74.3. So not a lot of teams don't get second chance points on this team. And look at who they have defensively. Jrue Holiday, in my eyes, is the best on-ball guard defender in the NBA that we have right now.
Defensive Player of the Year every year.
Every year should be a candidate every year. I still don't know how he's not talked about ever in those.
He should have been over.
You have Giannis that can guard on the perimeter, that can protect the rim. Brook Lopez is an elite rim protector. I mean, they are very good, man. And look at this. I know even with Milwaukee not having Chris Middleton that much this season, when he has played, he's only averaged about 14 points per game. But in his last 8 games, he's kind of looked like the Chris Middleton of old, man. 19.1 points per game, 7.4 assists, 5.3 rebounds per game. He's shooting 39.5% from 3. That's looking like the normal Chris Middleton. So if we get this Chris Middleton, with especially how well Jrue Holiday has played, I'm going to get to him in a second.
Yeah.
They still got Bobby Portis. They still got Brook Lopez. Grayson Allen can knock down threes. They got Javon Carter. They got a deep team, man. This is going to be a tough team to beat, not only in the East. If they represent the Eastern Conference, they could definitely win the NBA championship this year.
Yeah, they're definitely one of those teams that I just look at them top to bottom right now, I don't see a lot of holes in them where I could say, hey, this team could beat them because they have the size.
Joe Ingles never got to mention too. Like they got a lot of guys.
Yes, they got guys that could shoot the three, man.
Yeah.
Jay Crowder, Joe Ingles, Grayson Allen, Chris Middleton, even Drew Holiday.
He's 38% from three right now. And that's the thing with like in the playoffs. I know the game slows down more and stuff, but it's like when you have all these shooters and Giannis has the ball, of course you want to double, but who are you gonna leave open?
Can't really leave anybody open. Like that's
what the Bulls did in the first round. They kept leaving Grace Allen again.
Yeah, and
kept draining.
That sent us home. You
know?
We couldn't stop him. We had no answer. Imagine if they had Middleton, man. Like I know we lost, but Middleton definitely does create an impact because when he is healthy, he's their second best player.
Oh, without a question. Yeah, without a doubt.
I like what you said, and I think one thing that we don't talk about enough, besides the Drew Holiday, I think Brook Lopez and the change of his game, how he's evolved. Now, when Brook Lopez was drafted, he was a post player. He didn't play a lot of defense. He was an 18-10 guy in Brooklyn.
Is he the all-time leading scorer in Nets history?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Okay.
He is.
Yeah.
He is. And that record still hasn't been broken because nobody stays with the Nets long enough, unfortunately. I'm not even trying to make that a joke. Like, nobody stays in Brooklyn.
I remember those teams where they had Darren Williams, Joe Johnson, Paul Pierce, KG.
Dude, do you remember when they almost had Dwight that one year? Like, in that offseason, they had just gotten Joe Johnson, and they were really trying to get Dwight. Man, they were supposed to be that new big three. So, Brook Lopez, man, like, he's been... once he got traded in the D'Lo trade to Los Angeles, you started seeing his three-point shot. I think his career definitely got revived in Milwaukee. Now, Nick, absolutely. I don't know if you knew this, but when he came to Milwaukee, he signed a one-year deal.
I remember that. And the Lakers didn't re-sign him.
Mm-hmm. He signed for $3.3 million. And just because he believed he could be a difference maker on this team. Now, Brook Lopez's stats for the Bucks and his Bucks tenure for the 5 seasons he's played for them, he's averaged 13 points a game, 5 rebounds a game, and about 2 blocks a game.
Which, he's a good rim protector.
Yeah. And that's the thing is that like he wasn't drafted for that, and he's really evolved. And his 3-point shot,
is really involved.
Avery Johnson was his coach that told him, "Hey man, start shooting the 3 because it's going to become a factor in your game if you start hitting them from outside." Yeah. And he started practicing every day. He talked about it. Without Avery Johnson, he doesn't think he would have been able to shoot the 3 at the clip he does. And this year, Nick, he's been great. He's averaged almost 16 points a game this year. He's averaged almost 7 rebounds this year, and he's out at 2.5 blocks. He leads the league in total blocks, and he is possibly going to be the defensive player of the year.
Oh yeah,
so
most definitely. He's as soon as he's arrived, like with the Lakers, you see his perimeter game evolved.
Yeah.
But when he gets to Milwaukee, both sides of the court, this guy's a monster.
Like, he's so damn big. He's 7 feet tall. You don't have a lot of centers in this league. Like, besides Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic, what other centers do we really talk about besides Miles Turner?
Yeah, and that's the thing with this, like, Bucks team is, like, there's a lot of teams that have, like, star players, superstar players.
Yeah.
But the thing is, those franchises try to get other superstar players to play with those superstar players. Instead of the Bucks, they just surround the right amount of pieces that fits Giannis' game.
Exactly.
That's the thing, because now Giannis is so dominant, down low. He's like the Shaq of this era. I mean, it's ridiculous. There's no way you're going to stop him from getting his. It's just not going to happen, right?
So hard.
But then you try to take away some stuff from him, so you're going to end up doubling him and stuff. But Giannis is a very good passer, very underrated passer. He finds guys wide open, and all these guys that they have on their team shoot about 37% or better from 3. So who are you going to leave open in the playoffs? Now, Boston is the one team that could beat them because they have a lot of guys that can throw at Giannis that don't really have to double as much. Everybody else in the East pretty much has to bring that second defender, or Giannis is going to cook you with 40 and 20 every night.
Yeah, no, that's true. They have guys like Time Lord, Robert Williams, Al Horford is like,
Williams.
Yeah. Grant Williams, Jason Tatum.
Tatum's got size, and Jaylen Brown's got some, physical size on him too. So there's a lot of guys they could throw at them.
And the other thing too is that like last year, I think in that Boston-Milwaukee series, the not having Chris Middleton was it was a factor.
I'm a big believer because we even talked about this. Like They went to 7 games. He didn't have Chris Middleton.
Nope.
Let's reverse it. If Boston didn't have Jaylen Brown and they had to play Milwaukee had Chris Middleton, does that go 7 games?
No, it doesn't. Probably goes 5. I think it goes 5. The way that Jaylen Brown has been so important. I mean, Jaylen Brown would have been the MVP in the finals last year if they won.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I just want to also mention that too, Nick. In that series, they were up 3-2. Did you know that? I mean, that's the thing too. Is they basically got screwed because Al Horford decided, I'm just gonna rewind the clock 10 years and go off in Game 6.
Do you want me to be honest too? If the Bucks somehow would have won that series, I think they would have put up a better fight in the finals than Boston. I just think the personnel, it's just better suited going up against the Warriors than what Boston was able to do. Even though Boston had the better talented team, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think too in that matchup they have one player that the Warriors would have had no answer for, which is Giannis Antetokounmpo. Because as much as we talk about what Miami did stonewalling, did it work the year after? Because they got cooked in 4 games trying the same type of thing they did the first go around and it didn't work. So I just don't I agree with you. I think that would have been a more interesting series.
Yeah.
Now I could have seen Milwaukee winning.
I still would have had Golden State winning, but I just think the way Boston, to me, just wasn't making adjustments. That's the one criticism I have for Udoka. He was a great coach all year, but you have the greatest shooter alive. You're going to have either Marcus Smart get over the top of the screen, or you're going to have your big Robert Williams, who he can move. He can move. He's lateral quickness, and he can get Marcus Smart to be able to get under, then come back and recover and stuff. They weren't doing none of that. Marcus Smart was switching every time, playing Al Horford on islands and stuff like that. But with Milwaukee, they would have made sure that if they were going to switch, that Giannis was going to be guarding Steph.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, Giannis has got a long reach, too. So, that's not going to be an easy shot to, get over a guy like that.
Absolutely.
And Steph, too, last year, I know he was going great. And, for me, I just feel like that in that series, if we're going to talk about that hypothetical too, my one thing that I just see something that the Warriors struggle with is a team with size usually. And I just look at that team. Now, I get what you're saying. The 3-point shooting, if you can't overcome that in a series, you're going to lose, especially to a team that shoots a lot of threes. You know what? It would have been really cool to see, Andrew Wiggins was the second best player in the Warriors last year. He was their best perimeter defender. To see him switch on to guys like Giannis or Middleton, in possessions and see how well he would have done against them.
They were leaving them on islands with Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and Wiggins was unreal in that finals, man. I think without him, if he wasn't playing like that, I don't know if they would have won the championship, to be honest with you.
Look at no Wiggins.
A couple games, first 2 games, Clay was non-existent.
Yeah.
And, they weren't getting that much bench production, things of that nature. But I would have loved to see how Jrue Holiday would have defended Curry in the finals. Because in my opinion, Jrue Holiday is the best on-ball defender. Now, I'm not saying he's going to lock up Steph Curry. Steph Curry's still going to get his, but the way Boston was just, Marcus Smart was just switching. Even before the screen was coming and he's already pointing to switch. I think Jrue Holiday would have not been doing that. That's just my whole thing. I think defensively, Milwaukee would have had a better structure in place to go up against the Golden State Warriors than Boston. Not saying they're the better team. I think Boston's the better team. But
I get 100% what you're saying. I think if you look talent for talent, yes, Boston definitely has a more talented team based off of their roster.
Yep.
I just think that Milwaukee is a better team in terms of what they can do to a team like a Golden State Warriors, where that matchup definitely favors the Bucks a little bit more than it does the Celtics, just based off of their personnel.
Yeah.
Now, this year's Milwaukee team, I think, is better than last year's team. I think
without a doubt, I agree.
The additions of guys like Joe Ingles, Jay Crowder in the midseason trade, I think that they
so important to re-sign Bobby Portis, because everyone thought that there was rumors he was going to go to Golden State.
Yes, that was a big rumor. I think Bobby Porter's resigning for the 3 or 4 years.
Was it $48 million for 3?
I believe it was somewhere along those lines in a 3 or 4 year deal. Around $48 million. But Bobby even talked about it on the JJ Redick podcast. He called up Giannis and told him hey, we can win the championship together. I want to come to Milwaukee. And I think he really has found his niche there, and he's
Absolutely.
shown who he is. He could be possibly a 6 Man of the Year candidate just with how well he's been playing.
Absolutely, no doubt. And I just think Milwaukee, for having that 1 seed, hopefully they keep it. They actually do have somewhat of an easy schedule, 2 remaining 2, so they should keep that number 1 seed.
Yeah.
Which obviously would be big time. I just think Boston's going to have a tough second round matchup, though.
Yeah, Boston definitely is not gonna. It's not gonna be an easy path back for them to get to the finals.
And I just think if Milwaukee ends up playing Philly, I'm not gonna try to disrespect Philly like that, but I just think that series is not gonna go. It's not gonna. It's not gonna get so hyped, but it's not gonna live up to the hype.
It's not gonna go the way that the media is gonna talk.
The media is gonna talk about it exactly. Versus,
I don't disagree with you.
Boston could end up playing a scrappy New York team.
Yeah.
If let's say Cleveland's the 4, and then the next, but Cleveland, man, Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Mobley, like they got a lot of guys on this Cleveland Cavaliers team that can light it up. Man. And if Boston doesn't come ready to play defensively, like Cleveland, like can make that a 7-game series. They really can.
Yeah, Cleveland is going to be an interesting one. I think they're that wild card team that can either like make a deep playoff run or they get sent home.
Yeah, and Cleveland's beaten Milwaukee twice this year in the regular season.
Yeah, and I don't discredit like that matchup because I get it that sometimes people talk about, well, it's just a regular season, like the playoffs are different.
Yeah.
Dude, Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs is not like a joke. Like, it's just that unfortunately he just didn't have the team to support him.
What he did his rookie year when he going against Russ and Paul George and Carmelo Anthony. His rookie year.
Dude, in the bubble, this man's trading buckets with Jamal Murray.
Man.
Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
Of, like, what you've seen with a guy like Donovan Mitchell. He's finally on a team where I think, like, this is the best team he's been on. Like, I know that those Utah teams are really good, but I think, like, in terms
of, like, talent.
Yeah, I think this is the best.
This team's got some serious talent.
Like, I look at, like, a guy like Evan Mobley, who I know has kind of had a little bit of a slump this year. He's got star potential rim on him now. Yeah. Jared Allen is a great rim defender. You have a great running star in Darius Garland.
Karis LeVert could get you some buckets if you need it.
Isaac Okoro is a great
defender.
Player. Yeah. Swingman. Like, he's a great piece. They also have guys like Robin Lopez coming off the bench. Who else? Ricky Rubio. They also have Ricky Rubio on that team, which I forgot about. And then, I'm probably forgetting like one or two other guys.
Yeah, so Cleveland, look out for Cleveland, man, because that's an interesting team right there. Especially in the playoff setting. I think they got the right pieces in place to really be able to compete. I don't think they would come out of the East, but if they somehow upset Boston to play the Bucks, I honestly wouldn't be surprised. But I know a lot of fans will because everyone's been hyping up Boston so much even before the season started. Oh, it's the Celtics. This is the year they're going to win the championship. I personally wouldn't be surprised if the Cavaliers pick Boston. And I'm not picking that to happen.
Yeah.
But as a basketball fan, I wouldn't be surprised.
Hey Nick, I would go up for that series if that happens, man. To Milwaukee, it's not too far of a drive, hour and a half, man. To go see a series like that. Yeah. Talk some hoops about it too. That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
But I think, man, I think we covered a lot with
great topics today. And again, we apologize. I know we haven't filmed in a while. It's been a couple weeks, so we're gonna try to. We just been very busy, so we're gonna try to keep a much more consistent pace of shooting videos and stuff like that.
100%. Yeah. No, and like Nick said, life unfortunately has just been really busy for both of us, and it just gets hard sometimes to just have the schedules work and stuff. And
your college graduates in the beginning of your careers.
Monday
through Friday life. It's really.
Hey man, college unfortunately was almost 3 years ago now. If you think about it,
it's wild.
It's crazy of how fast time goes. But
absolutely.
We appreciate you guys listening to the end of these videos. We just want to say thank you again for your support, your feedback, and everything you are giving us. We appreciate all the feedback too for all the special guests that want to come on to the show and talk. We will get you guys on as soon as we can.
Yep. I know we said on the Twitter page we were supposed to have a guest today, but we're going to reschedule that. Ended up not being able to happen, which is no problem at all. So yeah, we just wanted to throw
Yeah,
that in there.
yeah, no, definitely want to
Yeah.
call that out. We will definitely have that special guest come on when he's able to, and we'll have a great talk with him.
Absolutely.
But you know what? Like the show
He's
must
got a great podcast himself called
Yes.
On the Clock. Check it out.
check it out. But the show always must go on. So Nick, just want to say, man, it was a great convo today with
Absolutely.
you. And real quickly before we end today's video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please share our page. Please like. Please comment. Let us know what you guys want to hear or talk about, especially with the
Share it
playoffs.
with your basketball friends that are looking for more content. You know, if they're getting
Definitely.
tired of watching how the media is today, this is definitely a channel that we're not biased
Well, yeah,
on here.
we don't-
And we also talk about not just those like superstar players or those big market franchise teams. We also talk about teams that should be getting respect that they deserve, but the media is refusing to give them the props. This is why we created something like this. So
Definitely. I remember when we were talking about this back in 2021,
absolutely,
man.
man.
You know,
Absolutely.
and that's all we want to keep trying to do to you guys.
Yes.
So please, yes, like Nick said, please share to your basketball fans. If you guys need something to listen to during work, just give it a listen. Even if you don't know basketball that
We're also
well.
on Spotify as well.
Yes, Spotify, literally. Also, please follow our Spotify page. Go listen to this. And guys, we will be seeing you very soon. But for Nick and I, this has been All Ball, No Foul. Thank you. Have a good night. And let the playoffs begin soon.